Do you struggle with watering your seedlings, knowing when to water them and how to water them? This is a common struggle, even myself as an experienced gardener deals with every year. Today I want to share with you a few ways you can tell when your seedlings need to be watered, as well as go over how to water them. Bottom watering versus top watering. I also want to share with you the best way to water your seeds, and that's with a spray bottle or misting. Thank you for joining me. I'm Kayla with 5 Canadian Acres, and let's start out by talking about when to water your seedlings. This is not a black and white answer because you can't say I'm going to water them every second day. It's going to depend on the size of your cup, the soil, the size of your plant. There's so many factors. The best way to tell if your plant needs to be watered is by checking its soil. Now, depending on your soil, visually might not work because you could have a darker or lighter soil. Here we have 2 different plants, and you can see, hopefully here, one is lighter and one is darker. I'm assuming the darker one is wet, the lighter one is dry. But my favorite test is to go by weight, because if I'm actually holding these, I can tell, because I know that they both need to be watered just from their weight. So that is actually my favorite way to water my seedlings, is to pick them up and see how much they weigh. And again, that's going to depend on the size of your pot. Because if we have a big pot like this, then it's going to be a lot heavier. Once you start to get used to this method, it's actually surprisingly easy how well you can tell if they're wet or dry. So another way to tell if you need to water your plants is to check with your finger. You can buy a moisture meter, but then again, you're going to have to research what's the right percentage of moisture, etc., etc. And I am all about keeping things simple. Finger, you can just stick it down on the edge of the soil. Don't stick it too close to the plant because you don't want to break too many roots. But if you go over on the edge, you're generally safe. And just stick your finger down until you can feel if it's wet. If you can get your finger pretty far down and it's still dry, then you know you need to water as well. And now for the big debate. Top water versus bottom water. I am not a purist. I think that you need to learn different methods and then use what works for you. I do find bottom water is really good. That's why it's so popular. There's lots of advantages to it. But sometimes, and if you think about nature, it's a top water. It rains from the sky. That's how Mother Nature waters her plants. So to me, I don't think top watering is a really bad thing. So the key to top watering is to go slow. When it rains, the plants are getting all that water over the course of hours. So if you just go and dump a whole bunch of water on your plant and let it drain through really quick, it's gonna do damage. As you can see in this plant here, by top watering, I've actually washed away some of the soil and now the roots are exposed, which is bad. If you do happen to do that, put some more soil on top, cover it up, and then you just want to make sure you go slow. Try to get one of the watering cans that has a spout with holes in it so it kind of drains it out instead of just pouring it all in a big, huge amount. Also, if you go too fast with top watering, it can go through little capillaries and holes and it can drain out the bottom, but the whole soil is not saturated yet. So how I top water is I'm just going to very slowly pour the water in, and then I'm going to wait a couple of seconds, not too long, and then pour a little more. And this gives it a chance to absorb. If you just keep pouring, it's just gonna flow out the bottom, but it won't be fully watered. And again, because I like these cups, I know these cups, I can tell it's not fully watered yet. I can feel the weight of it. Okay, we're getting some drips out the bottom, and I can tell it's a good weight. We're watered. You also want to go slow with top watering because you want to avoid splashing the leaves. That's where they can get their fungal diseases and such from the water splashed up on the leaves. So when you have trays full of seedlings, you're going to want a watering can with a longer spout so you can get right into the middle and be able to water those ones gently as well. Now we can talk about bottom watering. Bottom watering has many advantages. By bottom watering, your soil is able to absorb the water as it needs, and it also allows the roots to focus on going down deeper to stretch and reach for the water. Also, you don't wash away your soil when you're watering. In order to be able to successfully bottom water, there are a few things you need. You're going to need a tray with no holes, and you're also going to want to have things lying flat. If you're trying to shove, like I do, things in trays and they're all at different angles, if anything's sitting at an angle, it's not going to absorb at the same rate. So you're going to have some plants that have more water versus others. You're also going to want to make sure that you have really adequate draining holes. If your holes are too small, it's going to take a long time for the right amount of water to be absorbed. Make sure you're on a flat surface. If you have an uneven table or an uneven shelves, then the water will go to one side, and again, some plants will get more water than others. There is a little bit less control with the bottom watering versus top watering. Another thing for bottom watering is you're gonna want the same size plants generally. I have this tray here, and as you can see, these little guys in the front are very wet, but these big guys here are starting to dry because they're soaking up a lot more water. So you're going to want to have plants that are the same size and kind of type and same water requirements. You're not going to want to put a rosemary in here that wants less water with some things that want to drink a lot. To bottom water, all you're going to do is you're going to take your tray with your plants on your nice flat surface and your nice flat plants with good drainage holes. And then you're going to fill the tray up with water. Again, you're going to say, people say 1 inch, half full, but this is all going to depend again on the size of your pots and your plants. So I generally like to fill my trays half full. People will say wait 5 minutes to 20 minutes. Anywhere in there really kind of works. And then you're going to dump off any excess water. And if they've absorbed it really quick, you might need to actually put more water in. And again, as you get more experience, you get to know exactly how much water that your trays and plants will need. Another thing that can affect your bottom watering is your type of soil. Some soils will hold more moisture than other soils, and so they'll be able to absorb it better versus more of a thicker outdoor clay soil is not going to absorb as much water. So you're going to want to have a good quality soil when you're bottom watering. And be careful, because sometimes if you have a really good moisture holding soil, you can make your plants too wet by bottom watering. It just soaks it up and it's too wet. A little piece of advice is, in my experience, you're better off to underwater than overwater. Overwatering can be a lot more stressful and harder for the plants to come back from, whereas underwatering puts stress on the plant, but generally they'll bounce back a lot quicker from underwatering versus overwatering. The last thing I quickly want to talk to you about is misting. When you're starting your seeds, the best way to start them is to pre-moisten your soil, put your seed in, and then use a spray bottle. If you try to top water your seed, your little baby seeds, they could potentially wash down too deep and not have enough energy to sprout. If you try to bottom water your seedlings, the soil might soak up too much water, and then your seeds are gonna rot and never sprout because they're too wet. So if you pre-moisten the soil and then just keep an eye on them, and you want to keep that surface wet. So as the surface dries out, all you have to do is take your spray bottle and spray your plants on the top just so it gets wet again and until your plants sprout. Once your plants have sprouted, then you can go ahead and choose your top or bottom watering. This way has given me the most success in starting my seeds. In the debate of top watering versus bottom watering, you can ask 2 experts and you're gonna get 3 different answers. It all has so many factors. I hope the information I shared is able to give you an idea of how and why we should water these ways, and you can use what works best for you, or use them all like I do. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.